My name is Bobby Chiu. I do a lot of things. I'm an artist for bigger kind of projects like Alice in Wonderland. I was one of the 3 character designers for Tim Burton. Worked on Men in Black 3. Worked in animation for many years, as well as started the first online school 14 years ago called schoolism.com, and about to embark on my next little journey of creating one of the biggest artist-focused events in the world called Lightbox Expo, happening this September. I can tell you that the things I love doing is working on whimsical, fantastical creatures. That's kind of like the thing that I would do if I wasn't hired to do anything. That's what I'd be doing. And so those kind of projects are the ones I gravitate towards the most. So there's many different levels of character design. I really love the position that I'm in because usually what happens is I'm brought on when there's just a director, maybe not even a director, just a writer, or sometimes just a producer. You know, I like to get in on the ground level because that's where the most creativity is, I feel. And that's the most, those are the positions where I feel like I could have the most influence on a film. My number one objective is to try and communicate with the director and find out her or his vision on the things that they want to create, the things that they want to see. And so it starts off with just a conversation, usually, with the director and trying to ask them the right questions so that I would understand, hopefully, that they have a picture in their minds, and I would try to understand that picture. Sometimes they don't have a picture and they go, you know, I'll know it when I see it, which can be a little bit more challenging. The best scenarios for me that I like to be in is when the director really understands the vision that she or he wants to achieve, and then I would show them in a visual way, and then hopefully sprinkle like a little touch of my own kind of personality on there to enhance the idea but not change it. If you can do that, then they'll always call you back. So one of the best situations that I've ever had was like when I was working on Alice in Wonderland with Tim Burton. It really felt like he knew exactly how he wanted the film to be, and I just need to show him in a visual way. But sometimes you do get the directors where they might have very little input. I've been in situations where you give them 10 really good ideas and they go, great, can you do 10 more? And with no description, nothing where it's like, well, I like this part about this idea, I like this part about this idea, but they're not giving me any of that kind of feedback, right? Those tend to be the most challenging, but that's also part of the job and part of the fun and part of the challenge. So I welcome those kind of challenges as well. In the very beginning, concepts weren't finished to the same level as they are now. Before, you could get away with an approved, somewhat finished sketch, and then it moves on. Nowadays, especially with live action films, they want to see something almost like photoreal most of the time, which I love because I love rendering, I love really being meticulous. And one of the things that I maybe got me a little frustrated in the beginning was starting all these great ideas and never being able to finish them, right? So now it's a wonderful time because a lot of times they'll pick the idea and they'll say, okay, now it's time to finish it. It can be kind of heartbreaking when you have to leave a concept in its earlier stages without kind of seeing it through to the end. So one of my friends, he's this amazing illustrator named Jason Seiler. He does caricatures and portraits for big magazines like Rolling Stone, things like that. And he told me, he was like, realism comes from its subtleties. Believability comes from its subtleties, which I translated into my own creature designs. Thinking about the subtle details of where does this thing live? What does it eat? How does it attract its mate? All these kind of things, even though it might not even be in the script, it's still in my head. I'll go through that process. And when you do that, then your designs tend to come from a more honest place. Right? It becomes like something where people go, oh yeah, I could totally picture that in real life somehow, in one of my nightmares or one of my dreams. And then the other thing is to just really, I guess, to really, how do I put it? To imagine the film. When I'm working on a film in the very beginning, I'll look at a blank screen. I'll just stare at that blank screen for a good amount of time. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to picture the film completely done. If I could picture that, it generally goes very well. Well, I'll tell you a little secret. If I really like the project, I'll try to put in some traditional mediums in there, some original drawings, sometimes a little bit of a watercolor thing in there as well, if I really, really like the project. And if I'm in a rush, if it's a project that I'm not super into, even though I am pretty much into every project I work on because I'm pretty selective. But if it's that case, then a lot of times it's generally going straight digital. But I do find the best results come from an original drawing first, because pencil to paper is just more tactile, right? And you can really get just a little bit more into the designs that brings it that much more honesty, that much more realism, believability. Lighting's everything well, not everything, but it's a whole lot of stuff that contributes to the end result. You can make for example, if you're designing a children's room, you can make that a beautiful, loving children's room, or you can make it the most kind of scary and sad and most like demonic scene, even though it has the same elements in there, just by changing the lighting. Right? So lighting can definitely play a huge part, and something that everybody should really keep in mind, even if they're just designing. Design the lighting as well. It also helps the director or the producers really see how that design could be in the film. Color is something that involves really understanding what the entire movie is about. Because depending on the environment, you might not want to make such and such part red on the creature or the character if they're supposed to stand out, because it's nothing but red in the backgrounds, or it's a red room or a red castle. But then sometimes you want to make sure that you do have a certain color in there, because then it becomes more cohesive with all the other bad guys or good guys in the film, so that at a glance you feel like they belong together. So it's very important to not just think about the design of the creature when it comes to color, but the other elements involved, the other characters involved, the other environments involved, and even the lighting. Schoolism.com is like my baby. It's like my first child that we kind of brought into this world. I'm super proud about it because at the time of its conception, there was nothing else like it, where you can get actual feedback from professionals, not just professionals, but top level professionals. And I believe that it's grown successfully and still very much kind of like one of the top players, if not the top player in its space, because it came from an honest place. I started my career in Toronto, Canada. I still live in Toronto, Canada. And when I started my career, I knew my art didn't have all of the knowledge and everything that I strive for, but I didn't have a way of getting it. So on a trip to San Diego Comic-Con, one of my favorite Comic-Cons, I got a chance to meet a whole bunch of my artistic heroes. And then the idea of schoolism, I pitched it to them and said, hey, with this, it's kind of like the famous artist course with Norman Rockwell and his friends. We could do kind of like the 2000 version of it, because it was in the 2000s, where we can give feedback and educate anybody in the world. A big part about the whole entire purpose of it was to spread great knowledge, but also to give people a way of getting amazing knowledge from all these top professionals in a way where it didn't break their piggy banks. That's a big problem that I've seen in not every school, but in a lot of schools. It shouldn't be like that, I felt. And if we could pool together the art community and all of our resources, then we can get these high-level artists to teach us and make it worth their while. And the last part of it is, where do you go for education when you're already a professional, when you're already an art director or whatnot? And that's what we've really focused on.